Hey everybody, I'm going to do a little update on the experiment I was working on here, trying to make a sort of rubberized sheet that I could use as a liner for my waterfall tank. I started out by simply taking silicone. I used some mineral spirits to thin it out, and then I painted it on one side of a piece of cotton cloth. This is an old t-shirt I cut up out of my rag bag. So when I painted this side of it, I painted it on fairly thin. I just brushed it until it was coated, and it didn't quite hold water. It almost did, but after a few minutes it started leaking. It was just sort of weeping through. So it didn't have any massive leaks. It was just still a little porous because of the material I used, and I didn't lay the rubber on thick enough. So what I did yesterday was I made up another batch. I made it a little thinner this time, so it was a little more brushable and a little more easy to paint. And then I painted it on pretty thick. You can kind of see how rubbery this side of it looks. So between that side being coated to that degree, and then we've now coated this side with a much thicker coating, I'm going to go ahead and place it in the colander here again. We're going to top it off with water and see if it holds water. And if it does, I have a dentist appointment here in a few minutes. I'm going to go run out to the dentist, do that, and come back and see if we don't still have water standing in there this afternoon. But let's get first steps first and get some water in it and see if it even holds it. So sit tight, let me get that done and we'll check it out. All right, so far so good. We are 3 or 4 minutes into it and I don't have any leaking at all, which is better than we did on my first test. So I'm a little sad to say that now that I've actually figured out how to do this and make this liner, I'm probably not actually going to go with using this method. I was thinking about it last night and I came up with a better idea, I think. I sort of modified the idea that one of my viewers gave me. We'll discuss that in greater detail in the future, but I think I'm going to go with a slightly different design, and I may not need to use a liner like this in the first place. But I did want to take a few minutes and point out exactly why I had issues with my first waterfall. If you'll see how the cloth material sort of wrinkles and folds, because you know it's not bowl shaped, it's a flat piece of material that we're folding into a bowl, and so you have to have these little folds and creases. When I built my other waterfall, I made the whole entire waterfall out of foam, and then I tried to sort of cover it with material and then paint the material. So I was painting upside down and in the back sides of it and in the little corners, and again I'm trying to get silicone to go into all of these little cracks because I put the material in first before treating it. And I'm pretty sure that's where I was running into problems. I simply was not able to get the silicone to go everywhere I needed it to go because I did it after the fact rather than creating the rubberized sheet first, putting the sheet in and then covering that with silicone, and I think would have been a better way to go rather than the way I did it by putting the cloth in first and then trying to apply silicone to it. So we are still sitting there bone dry, not a drop coming out of it. It's not weeping. It's not even moist on the outside edge of it yet. So we're going to let it sit there for another few hours. We'll come back this afternoon. I topped it off as much as I could without overflowing it. I want as much water pressure in the bowl as possible, pushing on that lining, and see if after a few hours we don't finally start getting some water weeping out of there. So sit tight and I will be back in a few hours to see if we're still holding water. All right, everybody, it has been about 10 hours now that it is sitting here, and for a moment there was a bit of a mystery. There is a little bit of water that is on the cardboard in the back, but it's not wet underneath or anywhere near the bottom side of the material or anything. And as I was standing here scratching my head, my wife came out and commented about how the cat was out here a few minutes ago drinking out of this. And so that is where that water must have come from. The underneath of it is bone dry. There is actually air bubbles where the air has sort of precipitated out of the water, or whatever the right word for that is. Degassed. It's been sitting out here in the baking, blistering sun all day, and that feels like bath water sitting in there. So if that kind of warmth and temperature and that amount of water sitting in that deep basin like that has not caused any pressure to push through even the slightest little drop, I'd say we finally got a successful seal. Now, of course, as I already said, we're probably not going to be using this. I've got another idea that I think we're going to do, but this is good to know, and it might be good for small jobs or patchwork or whatever. So again, I'm glad I did it, and it was a successful experiment. So all right, everybody, thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss my actual plan. We'll be going over that in the very near future. We'll be discussing what I actually think I'm going to go with, because we're not there yet. But if you're subscribed, you won't miss that or anything else. So thanks for watching. I'll see you real soon in the next one.